a governance expert, Professor Achu Aite, is advocating regulatory reforms that will compel political parties and politicians to publicly declare their sources of funding for their campaigns. Professor Achu, who is also a renowned political scientist, noted the enforcement of existing regulatory laws and designing others to empower whistleblowers will also go a long way to save the country from the growing monetization of the country's political system. He was speaking at a forum in Accra where stakeholders, interest groups consulted on safeguarding Ghana's democracy.
There is a lack of robust regulatory framework or regime for political parties. Yes, the 1992 Constitution is there, the Political Parties Act, Act 574, other pieces of legislation, they are there, but they are supposed to guide their activities. But how are they enforcement? For instance, parties have not declared to the public, not to the EC, to the public the sources of their revenues and assets, and publish to the public annually their audited accounts as stipulated. We want public disclosures. We have not been able to do that. It's part of, in fact, I read the Constitution last night, and it says public declaration of sources of revenues. And they must publish to the public annually their audited accounts. Even that one, we cannot be able to enforce. So, the other thing is that this big issue about the requirement that political parties should have branches in all regions. They must be present in no less than 2/3 of the districts in each region, and they must provide the information to the EC as is reasonably required. Has this been implemented? The EC recently did an audit, and when these things are done, we don't see them in the newspapers or published. We need to see whether the parties have to test, they are present in 2/3 of the district, they have branches in all the regions, right? I need to see that. I've not seen that. Then, of course, the other negative cynicism is about the weak promotion of internal democracy. Honorable Majority Leader, Minority, they've said all this over again. You see, so even internal democracy, people are qualified, they are competent, but if you do not have money, you cannot go through. If you are going to spend $68,000 just to win the primaries, it creates problems. The women don't have money, so how can you even empower women to compete? So it becomes a problem. So what people have seen is that, or even the perception out there is that there is weak internal democracy because the money bags have taken over the running of, or they determine who is to be there or who is not to be there. Again, in some cases, there is no law regulating the operation of political parties in Ghana. For instance, there is no law regulating campaign finance, and even the campaign season. We still have, we had elections 2016. We still have billboards around. In other countries, the following day, billboards are removed. We don't have any season for campaigning. Once you have lost elections, then you start campaigning. So our political parties have become electoral machines. So it's from after you've lost election, the campaign will start the following day until the next election. It doesn't make political parties to actually reflect over issues, deal with developmental issues. How can we regulate the operation of political parties through regulating campaign finance and then, of course, campaign season? Money is raised by aspirants and candidates themselves, but they do not go through party structures. I want to see political parties telling us that candidate A raised X amount of money, and they have gone through party structures. But we have a situation where candidates raise their monies themselves without the party structures knowing. We need to know that. And then, of course, there is evidence of corruption scandals by political parties in power. A lot of them, I don't want to cite them here. And then, of course, so there are two things here. The parties are unable to self-regulate themselves. And I think we need to also deal with that there must be a self-introspection of how can the political parties be asked to regulate themselves. So self-regulation is very important. And the last one is external regulation.
Chairman of the National Peace Council, Professor Emmanuel Asante, who's also a reverend, warned that monetization of politics is denying the country of rich human resource to engender the needed development.
The unfortunate effect of monetization of politics in Ghana include breeding corruption in our public sector, deny the country of her best human resources, a demonstration of lack of patriotism, and eventually rob the country of its hard-won gain of peace and development. Indeed, the current violent political vigilantism, bedeviling political activities in the country, can be partly attributed to the unfortunate monetization of politics. Unfulfilled promises of money, material, and job rewards made to young people who are recruited to facilitate the election of candidates by some candidates are some of the reasons these young people resort to violence when these promises are not fulfilled. You have an albatross hanging on your neck, politicians. Monetization of our political activities can also lead to state capture in a situation where faceless, economically powerful individuals call the shot. They are faceless, but they are economically powerful, and they are the ones who will call the shot. A candidate was telling me that he had been to a place to declare his intention of standing for a political office. And after he had met the elders of the town and everything when he was leaving, somebody sat there, looked at him and said, "Nane kura kura,"